All right, welcome. Today, we're basically going to open the book on a financial revolution. We're going to explore where this all came from, what the rules are, and where this entirely new kind of money might be headed. So, you have to start with this question, right? Why would a massive financial crisis lead to a whole new type of currency? To really get a handle on cryptocurrencies, you've got to rewind the clock to a time when the entire global system we all trusted felt like it was about to fall apart. So picture this. It's January 2009. The world is just reeling from the 2008 financial meltdown. People were losing their homes, their savings, and trust in the big banks and governments was at rock bottom. That feeling, that deep mistrust, was the perfect soil for a really radical idea to grow, a currency that didn't need any of them. And that, right there, brings us to our first chapter, the birth of Bitcoin. It was the very first cryptocurrency, and it offered a totally different way of thinking about money itself. So what is Bitcoin? Well, you can think of it like a public account book, a digital ledger. But here's the key difference. Unlike a bank's ledger, there's no one in charge, no central authority. It all runs on this technology called the blockchain, which is basically a shared, super secure network where everyone works together to confirm transactions. It makes the whole thing transparent and incredibly hard to mess with. Okay, but for a system like this to actually work, you need rules. And not just any rules. We're talking unchangeable, unbreakable rules. That brings us to Chapter 2, where we'll look at how this new economy is actually governed. And these aren't just suggestions. They're literally written into the code. Okay, see this number? 21 million. This might be the single most important rule in the entire crypto world. Why? Because there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins, period. That's a mathematical certainty that's baked right in. This hard cap, this limited supply, is designed to stop inflation dead in its tracks, giving it a scarcity that's a lot like a precious metal, like gold. So these 5 principles, they're basically the pillars holding up the entire Bitcoin network. We've already talked about the limited supply. That supply is controlled by something called programmed scarcity. All transactions are irreversible. They're final. The whole ledger is public for anyone to look at, and any changes have to be approved by a majority consensus. Let's actually dig into what these mean. So how do you program scarcity into something? Well, Bitcoin has this really clever mechanism called the halving. Just think of it like a pre-scheduled supply shock. Roughly every 4 years, the reward that miners get for verifying transactions and creating new Bitcoins gets sliced in half. This automatically slows down the creation of new coins over time. And you can see that process happening right here on this chart. Look at how the rewards for creating new Bitcoin just drop off over time in these steps. It's this powerful, completely automated way to control the supply and, in theory, support the currency's value by making it more and more scarce. All right, the next big rule is all about permanence. When a transaction goes onto the blockchain, it is final. There's no undo button, no customer service you can call to reverse it. Now, this makes the system incredibly secure against things like fraud, but it also means all the responsibility is on you. You have to be 100% sure before you hit that send button. And this brings us to the last big rule, consensus. What does that mean? Well, for any transaction to get added to that public ledger, a majority of the computers on the network have to agree that it's legit. This is what stops any one person from adding fake transactions or trying to rewrite the past. It's like security by democracy, but enforced with code. But, no system is perfect, right? For all its revolutionary design, Bitcoin comes with its own set of pretty significant challenges and risks. So let's turn the page to Chapter 3 and talk about the other side of the coin. Yeah, it's really important to look at the downsides here. We're talking about absolutely wild price swings, the risk of making a mistake you can never take back, and a very uncertain future when it comes to regulation. And on top of that, there are huge debates about its energy use and whether the network can even handle a global level of transactions. And this volatility, it's a huge deal. I mean, the price of Bitcoin can skyrocket or plummet in just a few hours. That makes it a super risky place to park your money for the short term. It's also why it's so hard to use it as a stable day-to-day currency for, buying a cup of coffee. But here's the thing. Bitcoin was just the spark. Its creation really opened the floodgates for thousands of other projects. And that brings us to Chapter 4, the wild world of altcoins. So what are altcoins? It's simple, really. They're any cryptocurrency that isn't Bitcoin. And there are thousands of them now. A lot of them are trying to improve on what people see as Bitcoin's weaknesses, like its slow transaction speed or its energy consumption. But others are built for totally new things, going way beyond the original idea of just digital cash.
So you might be asking, why should we even care about all these other coins? Well, it's because competition is what drives innovation, right? Altcoins are exploring all sorts of things, from tracking products in a supply chain to building smarter energy grids. They bring new ideas to the table and push the whole industry to evolve.
Okay, let's get into our final chapter and actually look at how this whole ecosystem has just exploded with variety. We'll check out a few of the biggest players and see what they're trying to accomplish. This table really breaks down the different missions in the crypto space. You've got Bitcoin over here, which many people now see as digital gold, basically a way to store value. Then there's Ethereum, which is more like a world computer. It uses these things called smart contracts, which are just bits of code that run automatically to power all sorts of applications without a central server. And Ripple? It's laser focused on one problem, making international payments way faster and cheaper for big banks. Okay, another huge name you've probably heard of is Solana. And its whole reason for being is to tackle one of Bitcoin's biggest problems, speed. Yeah, Solana is all about performance. Its tech can handle a massive number of transactions super fast and for super cheap. And that's exactly why it's become a go-to for things like DeFi, that's decentralized finance, and NFTs, those unique digital collectibles. Both of those need the kind of real-time performance that older blockchains just can't keep up with. And then you have something totally different. I'm talking about Dogecoin. Seriously, what started out as a literal joke has turned into a currency with this massive, super active community. So Dogecoin is all about small, everyday payments. And check this out. Unlike Bitcoin, it's inflationary. There's no cap on how many can be created. But its real secret weapon might just be its incredibly enthusiastic online community, which has been the driving force behind its use for things like online tipping and charity fundraising. And so we kind of end up right back where we started, with a big question. Bitcoin kicked off this incredible financial rebellion built on nothing but code and consensus. But with thousands of new projects all competing and innovating, the story of money is changing faster than ever. The story is far from over. The next chapter? It's being written right now, and honestly, who knows what it's going to look like.